Welcome back to the Hotelier Lounge Podcast. We give you direct access to the world's leading hotel and hospitality experts, helping you create a one-of-a-kind experience, generating 5-star reviews, increasing your bottom line, and setting you apart from the competition. And now your hosts, thought leaders in the interior design industry, Liat and Shmuel Siegel. Hey everyone, we're here with Nicole Simpson. I am super stoked to finally have you on our show. And
I'm happy to be here, finally.
Yes, this has been in the works. There is a word in, it's Yiddish, right? Besheret.
Yes.
It means, it's Besheret, it means meant to be.
Yeah.
And the backstory of how Nicole and I met, I had reached out to a common acquaintance, and they had connected us, and it was love at first sight.
Definitely. We had so much synergy. We couldn't wait. We got off our first phone call and we were just bubbling over. How are we going to work together?
Yeah.
And it's just been really awesome since then.
Yeah. So Nicole, can you please introduce yourself to our audience? Tell them about who you are, how awesome you are, and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Nicole Simpson, and I am the co-founder of Aesthetic Influencer, and this is a company that I founded with one of my very good longtime friends. Her name is Jasmine, and we have worked together in the aesthetics industry for a very long time, which is, while it's maybe not interior design, there are so many opportunities for correlations and just collaboration between, aesthetics as well as design, because so much of good design will impact aesthetics. But when Jasmine and I met, we were working for the same skincare company, and we traveled together a lot, and we worked with so many medical aesthetics clinics, and we realized that there was just a deep need for resources in terms of education, selling, and the big thing came down to visual merchandising, because a lot of the clinics that we spent time in were just, they were medical clinics that decided to add a medi spa or decided to add an esthetician and kind of make this venture into more of a cosmetic journey. And, they're doctors, they go to medical school, they're trained to heal people. They don't necessarily spend days or weeks or months or years studying visual merchandising. And that's where there's a huge need. And so one of the things that Jasmine and I specialize in is helping these aesthetic clinics just really reach their full potential in terms of sales and in terms of offering the highest standard of care for their client base that they work so hard to gain, just by doing the best that they can by, patient experience from the minute you go online. And I'm sure we'll touch on this so much today in the podcast, but from the moment you go online and interact with a practice or with a potential provider to the second you walk through the door to your treatment experience on the way out, there are very specific elements of that become very important. So Jasmine and I do specialize in that. We also do a lot on social media and developing the influence of these aesthetic clinics and aesthetic providers in our space, because there's just so many great ones out there. And I think that, the world needs to know, because so many people are just looking for those great people. So that's what we do. And I am just elated to be here with you guys today, just to talk about the crossover between success and retail. And, we'll talk today a bit about, retailing and cosmetics, especially in the medical world, but it doesn't just have to be isolated there. It can be retailing with whatever you do, whether you're in a hotel or a restaurant or in a spa or you work in a clothing store. A lot of things come down to the subliminal cues in good design. And so I really want to jump into that today and help all of your listeners, and myself and our listeners too, who will tap into this, just to understand what that is and how people can achieve their goals by, taking design pretty seriously in their offices.
Yeah, 100%. And the truth is that we're always merchandising, right? We're always on, I hate to say it because it seems so materialistic. We're always merchandising ourselves and selling ourselves. There's that saying, always be closing. And whether we're presenting ourselves, with the way that we dress, being clean, hopefully taking a shower.
I forgot what that was after baby number one.
Right? I think everyone is in that boat that understands and has kids. But, just coming off, being confident and being organized and clean and representing, putting your best foot forward, right? That is integrated in everything that we do. And if we understand merchandising, we understand life, right? If we understand life, we understand merchandising. They go hand in hand. And that's kind of what we talk about on a day-to-day basis. Just be you from beginning to end, no matter what in the client journey.
Right. And it's really not materialistic when you really think about it, because what we're selling is we're not trying to sell a product. What we're trying to do is we're wanting to help people. We all have a skill. We all have a talent. And people, there are so many people out there who have their own skills and talents, but lack in the skills and talent we specifically may have. And they need the services that we can, provide. Estheticians, doctors, they all have things that, if I was a doctor, even if I was a doctor, I would still need to be treated by other doctors, right? So when we have a talent, we have a skill, we have an ambition, we do something really well, there's nothing wrong with selling it and presenting it, because it's really what people want. And the only time it feels wrong is because we're not totally confident in what it is that we are offering. Right.
Bottom line, be confident.
Be confident and know that you have something to offer, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lot of what, I tell the doctors that we work with when we get the opportunity to speak to them candidly about this, because, what they forget is that when a person, so if I'm a doctor and I have a clinic and I have a patient who walks through my door, in my mind, they're my patient. So now I'm looking at confidentiality through HIPAA regulations, and I'm looking at them as, hey, they're here for a medical reason and I have to treat them ethically. In my mind, all I'm thinking is patients. I'm not equating that person to the consumer that we all are. I forget the number. You guys probably know it, but, we're bombarded with hundreds of thousands of messages, every single day. It's the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, whether it's online, on TV, outside, signage on the street, things in the store. And so when, a patient is in that clinic, one of the things that's so critical to know is that they are taking the cues from you. They're taking the cues from whatever visuals you've got out, the color of your walls, the quality of your chairs, the experience from beginning to end, and equating that to purchasing decisions. And that's not always something that we think about, even in business. Like, think about different quality of restaurants or different quality even of clothing stores. A lot of times the psychology of a purchase comes into very, very subliminal cues. Yes. And so one of the places that we just really like to help physicians, and this is where our skill set is strong, and we have transformed clinics that we've been able to work with, will go from 0 to 100,000 in retail pretty quickly by implementing a few really proven good techniques. But the first thing is the mindset shift, and that is everybody's a consumer. There's always an expectation that needs to be met in terms of appearance, cleanliness, organization, placement of things, lighting. And like you said, that happens from the moment you wake up. The color lips you put on, what color is your hair? What kind of clothing are you wearing today? And that all plays into the psychology of a purchase. And as uncomfortable as that may feel, and I've had so many doctors look me in the face and be like, my God, this is just getting too businessy for me, and I'm not comfortable. But I try to help them understand the same thing that you said. There's nothing wrong with, you are offering them, just because you have a well-designed waiting room doesn't mean anything ethically is changing about your service. And if anything, it improves the standard of care, because what happens if, somebody has a very aggressive laser treatment or even like a chemical peel where their skin is highly compromised? If you don't sell them the right product, they're going to go to CVS and God knows what they're going to buy. If it's got retinol in it, acid, something, and they could really hurt themselves. Yeah. So, there is a good business case for that. And, we are all consumers, and I really challenge people, if you're in sales, if you're in retail and you're looking to increase that, take your design seriously, take those subliminal cues seriously, because they do send purchasing cues to your client, and your client is a purchasing consumer, and you'll see your sales go up.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And not to mention that all these cues also affect the way that they are consuming it, and the way that they're enjoying it, right? Like in the restaurant industry, it's a well-known fact that when you present a dish, the plating is so crucial. You think, you're not eating the design, you're eating the food, right? The food is not going to change.
But it literally makes it taste.
People enjoy the flavor better when it looks
pretty.
Right? Exactly.
So
exactly. And it's really the same in every industry. Your consumers will enjoy your products better when they present themselves the way that looks beautiful to them. Right? And it's not about being salesy. It's not about, all these.
It's the mindset. It's
Exactly.
so the mindset. And I think that what you're doing is fantastic, because I think the previous generations before that weren't necessarily educated as free flow as businesses right now, right? It was more of a formal education and things were a certain way. Business is now a lifestyle. It's a representation of who you are and being true to who you are, and answering the calling of what your skill set is and delivering that to the world. I'm serving, right? Rather than I'm taking, I'm serving, I'm helping.
Absolutely. It's so true. And that mentality is where you see the difference. It's like a make or break kind of thing, especially when, and this topic is always polarizing, but I'll bring it up because it's appropriate now. You've got millennials coming in. And
Yep.
These are people who are addicted to the phone. And if they walk into your business and they feel offended, or they don't like it, or they're not vibing with you, or they feel like you're trying to take instead of to give to them, they're going to Google food near me, good bagels near me, good cosmetic sales near me. And they're going to say bye to you and walk 2 feet to the next place and go over there. And as we get increasingly reliant on digital experiences, in addition to good experiences, that is going to become ever more important. And where we see the most successful businesses across the board, not even just in aesthetics, is where your personality shines. Like Leah, I think that's why we just had love at first sight, because the moment I talked to you and knew that what I knew about you before I got on the phone is that you were an interior designer and you were pretty good at it. But when I got off the phone with you, I just felt, my goodness, I feel like I know this woman, and I feel like she read me like a book. And if she did design for me, she would hit it just right on the head. And that is what makes people successful. Now, if I would have felt like other experiences I had with other interior designers, or maybe you were just looking to take the contract from me, and it was always be closing the sale and taking my credit card, that would have been a very different experience.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, it would have been a totally different experience. And so it's all about, that confidence and just giving. And, even if you're a doctor, like you're a doctor in a clinic, you don't have to sell. What you do is you give your advice, you give your recommendations, you care about your patient, you want them to be the best version of themselves. So you give your best recommendation. That's going to take you so much further than saying, there's a skincare regimen, it's going to cost you $500. You're going to buy it from me. Don't buy it from the pharmacy. Can I please have your credit card number? That usually doesn't end well.
Exactly.
And not to mention, because of all the media we're consuming and because of everything that we're constantly being exposed to, what ends up happening is we become hypersensitive to salesy stuff, right? Like we just like everything that just smells slightly salesy, we just put it out. We throw it out. We're like, we tell Facebook we don't want it on our page, on our feed, get it out of here. And
Jasmine and I, we work in the internet world. Sometimes we do have offices that we consult, but a lot of the work that we do is online because we're busy, we're moms. We have a lot of hands on a lot of different things. And one of the things that we've noticed early on, and you hear this from a lot of, if you look at like online business gurus, they'll always tell you, like, you're going to attract your tribe. Whoever is going to resonate with you, or people who need something that you offer, that's going to be who your tribe is. But we started to really feel that when we got over some fears and started to put ourselves out there. And so when I had my first live, me on camera, I'm literally staring at myself in the face. Oh my God. I put here in my hair, and I was dying so much that I even forgot what I was going to say. But after I got over the first couple of those, we just started putting ourselves out there saying, hey, you know what? I don't need everybody to love me. We don't need people to love us. We're just going to go and offer. And the moment we did that and just started saying, hey, this is the expertise that we have, we want to share it with you. We did that for about 1.5 years before we ever sold anything. And that was intentional because we wanted people to get to know us for who we were and to trust the value that we brought to the table. And people started to see us as a resource. And honestly, our hearts are much bigger than maybe sometimes the business side of things, because I will give a resource before I'll ask for money for it, because I believe that we can help people so much through the information that we know, because I've seen it happen. We've done it for so many. And so we started to really gather our tribe. So online people started following us, in real life, not on the internet. People started to follow us, which seems so rare in real life, really. Like, you actually had a physical customer? Yeah, we did. But they started following us. So when it came time to sell e-courses and information, it became at that time just a very natural extension of what we did, because people understood probably the only reason we're charging is because we have to make money. It's not because we're being greedy or we're trying to take something from them. And that was really the right way to do things. And that is why we stand where we stand today, because we are resourceful and we care. And we work with anybody that we don't care about and doesn't care about the work that we bring to the table. Like, it's just something that we pride ourselves on, and it really goes very far.
Yeah, 100%. Working with the right people is also super important, besides for that mindset thing. So I would say, even just in the customer's journey, your specific customer's journey, the first thing is that mindset component, right? And then the other thing is them attracting the right tribe and the people. And that goes for our listeners as well, because the main chain, like the big chain hotels, they have, everybody's their customer. And when you change your mindset to understand that, no, you have a specific gift to offer and a specific unique perspective and a specific unique experience to deliver to your guests that come in, then when you niche down, you become so much more successful, because you're specifically talking directly to that one person. And when you have people coming in, you have the millennials, right, with their phones coming in, and they're taking pictures of the items, or we were just discussing augmented reality, right?
Yeah.
If you have something cool, like, it doesn't matter what it is, but there's so much innovation going on right now that by providing that innovation, providing that experience for your clients, showing them that you care in a real way, not just in an ABT way. Always be ABC way. ABT
we use ABT for always be testing.
Right.
That's one
of our motto.
Yeah.
But that's also another thing that should be applied. Always be testing, test, ask, request the feedback from your clients, from your audience.
You'd be amazed how much people want to offer their feedback, so like when people are like, well, what if I ask and no one wants to even speak to me, and when you put questions out there and you ask people, I would love to hear your feedback. I have, a boutique hotel or a salon, or spa, and I really would love to hear what you guys out there would love to see different. What do you think I can improve? How can I be more innovative? What would you like to see that would make you feel more, more comfortable? And a lot of people would be only too happy to share that, because who doesn't want a better experience? Exactly.
Right?
Who doesn't want a better experience?
No, it's true. It's so true. And again, those businesses that are open to hearing it are the ones that are going to be around to evolve.
Yes,
exactly.
Make a huge difference. But you touched on a really good point about just like augmented reality and millennials coming in and taking pictures of things. Like, one of the things that we preach all the time, and I'm sure you see this in your hotels as well that you work with, is that clinics now, we're actually urging them to put an Instagrammable space in their waiting room. Beautiful chairs, like cool, like pop art, or like cool artwork on the walls, like something that just stands out, interesting plants or vases, like things that are Instagrammable, but putting their branding or putting like some of the skincare products that they need to sell more of in the mix, because that is, a millennial will pay for an experience over things. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If they go and can have a documentable experience that makes them different or better than their friends, they're going to do that. And it does make a huge difference. And I know to some people who have been in business for a while, that kind of transition might be taking some time, but it's coming. And I know in hotels, like I actually just did an entire photo shoot for Aesthetic Influencer at a local hotel. It's a Le Méridien, but this particular Le Méridien in Tampa where I live is just so cool. Like whoever did their design, probably just like you guys, like very like well tuned into the vibe that they're trying to create. And we could not stop taking pictures. I booked the photographer for an hour. We stayed for 3 because it was just so cool. And so in my head, anytime I want to book a cool event or I want to take a client somewhere, or I want to take more pictures, that's where I go, because that was the experience I had. I'm sure there's a million other places closer to home, but I don't care. Like that is what stood out for me.
Yes,
exactly.
That's exactly it. And people will pay top dollar for that. And as a hotel owner, or anyone in the hospitality space, or aesthetics industry, people will pay top dollar for it because of the experience, and because it's something that, again, it's coming back to that whole, people are more conscious now of their emotions. They're more conscious of how they feel, their alignment on a day-to-day basis. And when they're in a space that makes them feel more aligned and they feel more joyous and happy, and who doesn't want to pay? Anybody will pay anything to be happy, right? And so if a space makes you happy, as you know, you can't really understand what goes into and why the psychology behind it, but it just does. And so traveling or paying extra, or you end up becoming the top destination, and really well reviewed, which again comes back to that online presence, and people seeing that your experience, the actual experience, not just the pictures that are seen online, but the actual experience is exactly what it's perceived to be.
It's so true. Like my previous life before I decided to move forward into aesthetic influencer, I was the global vice president of business development and education for SkinCeuticals. It's a brand of L'Oreal. It's a huge company. I managed business in 37 countries. And I was always traveling. People asked me where I lived, and I just said United or like Newark Airport. I was always somewhere else, between Asia, Europe, Middle East, South America, always going somewhere. But I can tell you, remember the top 5 hotel experiences I've had. And that's been after multiple years of travel. And that's just, and I can tell you what it was. It was design and it was experience. Whether it was lighting and it wasn't food. I can tell you it wasn't food because I can go find good food anywhere. I'm fat and happy. That's what I like to say. But food is good. But, you know, it comes for me, especially when you're traveling and that's your home away from home. And, you know, sometimes when I would go globally, I'd go 21 days at a time. So I'd be in Shanghai in the middle of nowhere where people don't speak English and I don't speak any Chinese and I haven't seen my husband in 2 weeks and I just want to get home. You know, you get cranky, you get irritable. And so it becomes very critical that you can go home to a space that just feels comfortable and makes you happy. And so things that would matter to me would come down to lighting or flowers in my room, or is there a space that I can go sit for 30 minutes and just chill out and like forget about the day and forget that I'm not home and, you know, try to get cozy. And I can tell you out of, you know, 37 countries and probably 5+ years of that, I've had 5 of those experiences.
Wow. That's significant.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
It does. It does. They're hard to find, and you know, doing them the right way is probably getting a little better now, but it was hard to find for me. And I was a global traveler, and so I can, you know, that's just like a personal testament to how important that becomes and how many other people are out there. And you know, everybody's taste is different, so what works for me may not work for another. But you know, but
it's the attention to detail. I think that, you know, no matter what your style is, the attention to detail, the attentiveness is felt. And it's again, it's a puzzle. Like it fits together. You have the design of the space just shows the level of care and attention to detail that should obviously fit to the care and attention to detail that the customer service and user experiences.
And the second half of that puzzle is also, I mean, it's very possible that every single country and every single area you travel to might have had the exact, you know, type of hotel that you were looking for. However, the fact that they weren't visible online, that you weren't able as a consumer to find them, is the second half of that puzzle.
It's a disservice.
Yeah.
It really is. And, you know, we were just for the listeners to know, we were kind of chit-chatting before we got on the podcast, and we agreed on 2 things very quickly. One was that all journeys, whether it's in aesthetics or hotels or whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. Every single journey starts online. And I know that we're going to get into that. And the other thing was just that it's all about the journey. Like that journey becomes critical, and it becomes about, you know, those psychological cues that place that consumer in the mindset that they have come to you for. And that takes a bit of research and kind of peeling back the layers. And I know we're going to kind of pop into that when the time is right tonight, but you know, that starting everything online is so critical, and getting yourself found is critical. And, you know, we get asked a lot, like, does that start with SEO? Does that start with social media? How does that work? And I think that's where things change by industry. I think for hotels, it's probably very SEO driven, and where does your site come on and all that. But where we see some of the best traction in the world of aesthetics, and you might actually, I'd love to hear your perspective on this for hotels, but when it comes to medical aesthetic clinics, it comes to Instagram and having influencers and bloggers in the space talking about your experience.
Yeah.
And that is how our critical clients are getting found.
Yeah. Totally. And I think that that's not happening enough in the hotel industry, which is why
100%.
we created the Hotelier Lounge,
Mm-hmm.
because that has not caught on yet enough in the hotel industry. There are people that are doing it, but I think that it's more widely accepted in the aesthetics industry than it is in the hotel industry. There's a
Right.
lot of like old world, old school type thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and not enough in innovation. The hotels that are, there are a ton of hotels that are chains, that are franchises. And I really think that it's personally, and I think that I speak for a lot of people, because especially as millennials are going to be the dominant generation, right? And the older generations are,
They're around. They're there. They're absolutely relevant.
They're tired.
They will be required to adapt.
Exactly.
That's better. Much better. I like your version better.
So we're gonna roll.
I don't know what year you're born in. I don't care about sharing mine. I was born in 82, which technically makes me a millennial. I actually don't identify too much with being a millennial, because I think I'm closer to the previous generation, and I was raised by very conservative baby boomers.
Mhm.
But I find myself lately acting like a millennial. I am 24/7 on my phone. I Google everything. If I don't like something that just happened, I'm talking about it online. I'm just, wow, it is amazing how quickly that adaptation takes place. And unfortunately, most people are going to have to learn how to do that, because it's just the way that our world is moving.
Right.
It is. And I mean, there are a lot of downsides to it, but there are a ton more upsides. And I think that our minds are expanding.
Mm-hmm.
We're becoming, there's more diversification and connection, I think, than there was before, especially in the entrepreneurial space, where I meet people from across the world. I mean, like, this could not happen without technology, without, that expansive thinking of what's possible when we collaborate, when we come together.
I think it's also an understanding of the platform that you're using, right? Because there's so many different social media networks out there nowadays, and they're constantly new ones are coming in, and they're constantly changing, and understanding, like, what you said before about Instagram is 100% true. Anyone who is displaying something beautiful, Instagram is the place. I mean, there's nowhere else.
Instagram, Pinterest, anything visual.
Pinterest, yes, but not like Instagram. Instagram is in a total different ballgame for that, and it's a lot more engaging.
It's a whole different ballgame, and it's completely growing. Like, a couple of years from now, if you are not right now starting to build your presence in the Instagram space, you're already behind. If any of you are listening to this, that no matter what industry you're in, if you're in hotels, or if you're listening in for aesthetics or anything on in between, take a look at your Instagram, look at your feed, look at your grid, get on your stories every day, be present, because that is where people are going to look for you to have experiences. And if you've got budget to work with influencers, we encourage it. But if you don't, just do your best yourself to get out there, get your hands dirty, and show your experience. Get on stories, put a quick 15-second video, and just show something awesome about what you do. If you have a hotel with a beautiful water feature, if you have an amazing spa where you got tired travelers who want to go chill out, take a quick snapshot of that and just keep showing that, because that is where people are going. It's just,
or if you're under construction and improving your space, show them that you're improving your space and that you care enough to do so.
Totally. And I think people really like being included in the journey. It makes it feel like it's like why people root for sport teams, right? Because like they want to feel like they're part of that journey. They want to root for you. They want to be there with you, and it's really awesome.
It's so true. It's so true. And so, I believe that starting online is a deal breaker. I think, those who aren't doing it are going to find themselves falling behind those who are. And I say this transparently and candidly, not to sound like I'm driving negative information, but it's just, based on experience, this is what we're seeing. And if you have a good plan, it doesn't take much. You've got to be there and just show, pictures, experiences, things like that. Just put it out there, and you will call your tribe, and your tribe will become very loyal, and those are the ones who will convert to purchase from you.
Right. And it takes time. Like, for our listeners, know that you have to start somewhere, and that you can't expect things unless you have a ginormous budget to work with. You can't expect things to happen. And even if you do have a ginormous budget, it takes time to get people to trust you. And especially going back to what we were talking about, not selling primarily, but giving more than anything. And it will take time to build the trust of your audience, but it has to start somewhere. You have to have a plan to put in place first and foremost, and you'll see a huge amount of success doing that.
I did want to touch base a little bit just on the journey, and then talk about, because I think that's important, and I wanted to talk about just the importance of design when it comes to purchasing cues. And we can talk a little bit about what that means in the aesthetic space, but also in the world of hotels, because, you know, it gets so far underestimated, the importance of having, you know, proper visual design in the right place at the right time with the right lights and the right colors. And it's not just about converting to purchase, even though that's obviously always the end goal. It is about experience. And so, like, for example, if you have a woman in aesthetics clinic, we refer to the patient as the aesthetic consumer, because again, patients are still consumers. They're consumer before they get in your office, they're consumer when they leave, but they're coming to you because they want to feel like the best version of themselves. So if you're a physician listening, you know this. You've got Mrs. Aesthetic consumer, you see her probably at least once a day. She's coming because she wants to perfect herself. Sometimes she wants to go too far. Sometimes she wants to be more conservative. That doesn't matter. But what matters is that she is trying to create this image of herself that she has in her mind, and she's trusting you as her partner to do that. And so when it comes to, you know, medical treatments and the fillers that you can do and the lasers you can offer and things like that, you've got that totally under control. But the best thing you can do when it comes to your retail business is position your products in a way that help her see herself in that light. And so I know you guys were mentioning some concepts earlier, and I would love you to share what some of the experiences you've had with what that really means and how you can use design techniques to really bring that to life.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think that, like you said, that, you know, every individual that comes in, although they are a consumer, they're also an individual, and each person consumes things because it's what speaks to them. So understanding the consumer is very, very important. It's something that we do as designers when we
have something that we term the ROAD method, return on emotional design.
Yeah, that really we focus on the emotions that go into the colors and into the feel of the space. But also the other thing I was speaking of is when we onboard a new client, we always help them find their style. So there are ways to really help them, because most people think that either they don't have a style or they think they know their style, but it never really worked for them. Because while it is their style, you would be surprised how many consumers don't really know what that style is,
or why it's important to know it. What that style is. Yeah. Many times, again, it goes back to understanding your consumer and understanding how they consume, whether, you know, everybody's a consumer, whether they're consuming your services or they're consuming your products. And it's important to understand what's important to them and how they experience it, and for them to be able to see themselves not living without your product and not living without your space or your hotel or whatever, and that just being a part of their everyday lives. You know, it's just integrated. It is what it is, and they're happy and they're excited for you to be a part of their lives. And so what we do is we have a style navigator, and it's basically a style assessment, and we take the client through. We try to make sure that it's a journey for us, an intake kind of assessment where we can train ourselves to see the world through their eyes. So we have a specific way that we go about it, and specific steps, a specific process, and literally train ourselves to be able to pick furniture out, or to pick the aesthetics or the setup of the space, so that when they walk in, they're like, this is me. You know, they literally feel like they are reunited with a piece of themselves.
Right. And we've actually seen a lot of another part of that, because when we're doing interior design, it doesn't really necessarily affect the body so much. So when we're talking cosmetics, something that we have done in the past, before, in a previous lifetime, before Leah became a designer, she actually used to sell clothing for a while. And
it was in between.
In between. Yeah, I guess so. Right. Yeah. It's before we really relaunched our
Hadar
business.
Interiors,
When we really focused on our design business. We were doing we were selling clothing, and we did a lot of research into what it takes to make people happy in what they purchase, because we didn't just want to sell something. We want to sell something that people would be happy to wear. And we've learned so much about the shape of everyone's individual body shape. And we understood so much that people are very often they're not happy because their imagination of what they should look like and who they compare themselves to, and the results don't match up, because they don't even understand their own body shape, and they don't know how to embrace their own unique looks. So definitely, I think basically what we're saying is that the first step of the journey is is not only understanding your client, but helping your client understand themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. You just hit the nail completely on the head. It's the same for, an aesthetics consumer. Ask any woman who might be in her 50s or 60s, and she is actively going to see an aesthetic provider, what her ideal self would be. And they might say to you, I want to look rested, or like, I just want a vacation. But what that might really mean, and I've heard this I've interviewed women who have had these treatments done. And so what has actually come out of that, what that translates to in their mind is, I want higher cheeks, more volume in my lips. I want to look 20 years younger. And so the deep down things come out, but women don't always know, and men too, like we don't always know how to articulate that, because we may not always know what that means. And so it's important that, if you look at like how an aesthetics clinic might set up their retail area, it's important that there are things there that help a woman realize, or sorry, I keep saying woman, what I should be saying is help a client realize that they need to see themselves on that shelf. They need to see themselves associated with that product. So if that's done by models, or if it's done by actual before and after pictures, or whatever that modality looks like, it's going to be independent of the type of clinic that you are. But whatever that is going to help you. If the more you can understand your consumer, the better you can help them understand themselves and what they really want. And that is where the trust comes in. If you can relate with them on that deep down translation, okay, you want to look younger, what does that really actually mean?
Right. In a practical way.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. In a practical way. It's like, I'm not going to redo your whole structure of your skull, but definitely in a practical way. You are going to help them trust you, because you're going to help them be literally the best version of themselves. And then from there, whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whether it's patient loyalty or repurchasing or whatever that is, a no-brainer. It's that natural extension of what you've just built.
And it's also being very transparent. That's something that we've seen. It's being very transparent with the client. I'm not trying to sell you every single service I have. I'm looking for what's right for you. I understand you, I get you, and I know that these are the right services for you.
This is specifically not right for you. I'm not going to sell this to you.
I'm not even going to go there, right? I tell clients all the time, I get with them on the phone, and I'm like, listen, if you're not a right fit for us, then I'm going to tell you that. I'm not even going to go there. I'm not going to touch it.
I had a doctor tell me one time, I was younger and I was just getting into the aesthetics world, and I was working as an esthetician. And at the time I was new, so I didn't understand all the treatments that were out there. So I asked the doctor, I had a patch of cellulite somewhere in my body, and I was like, can you help me? And he was like, no, the best thing you can do are candlelights and dimmers. And at the time, I was like, what did you just say? Candlelight and dimmers? You know what I wanted to call him.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. Now I look at that, I'm like, basically that was his way of saying there's nothing I can do for you. Maybe the delivery was a little bit off, but I appreciated that versus him trying to inject it with God knows what and, end up in the And I do think that
I think we need to teach people a little bit more bedside manner.
Yes.
That must be a part of your business.
Yes.
Oh my God. But you're right. I think knowing your consumer, knowing when to work with somebody, when not to work with somebody, but doing your best to help them really understand themselves is always going to do really good. And even, if you scale that above and beyond visuals, like above and beyond a hotel visual, or above and beyond even, visual merchandising on shelves, like even just as a best practice, anytime you have customer service, remember everything is now experiential. The experiential positives are what are going to win you business overall. And so when you look at how your staff might greet a customer, or how you might interact with somebody online. It really does translate if you're genuine and you care,
Right.
and you're in it. Like you said, if you're giving rather than taking, all of that really just comes full circle. And when you create that culture of people, the culture of visuals, that culture of online presence, when you get all those going together, now you've got something that not only is going to win you a ton of business, but it can't be replicated.
Right.
Nobody can replicate you in that.
Totally.
And that right there is the winning thought.
Yes.
100%. And I'd say that's really, that's the segue towards what I think is the next leg of the journey. And the term for a business, for craft in Hebrew is the same as the term for art, right? Everyone's craft is it's their art. Whether you're a doctor or you're a hotelier, and whatever clientele group you're serving, what you do, it's an art. You're good at it, and if you treat it like an art, you'll be even better at it, and your clients the right clients will appreciate it more, right? So I'd say that the next leg of the journey is really understanding that your clients don't always know what's available out there, and that you want to present them with the journey and how it should progress. And one thing that I know works just really phenomenal with any kind of business that you have is borrowing concepts from other businesses that serve a similar purpose, right? So we know that, since we know everything is really art ultimately, right? With the service that you're doing, it's your art. It's the way your creativity shines through, and how it translates to the client. So we know, restaurants, we know that that's an art. We know that, artists displaying their items, that's an art, but we don't necessarily think of our own business as an art. So if we can go and look at a menu, and we know that a menu describes the food, not just in plain terms, but it describes it in terms that would speak to the client. Now imagine if you went and you took your beauty products and had it in a wall display, displaying it with the similar terms, and you knew, okay, this is the appetizer, right? This is the main course. This is the dessert. The journey that you're going to go through. This is the road you need to take to achieve the best results and really enjoy that proverbial meal, right? And I think that also understanding the type of art that you're in also helps with the delivery. So if you know that a big part of cosmetics is smell, is sensory, right? The touch. If you can capitalize on that and deliver that as part of your service, so people can really feel that. We were speaking earlier before the meeting, before the podcast rather. We were speaking about this restaurant that I read about that services. It's an location that services the deaf, mute, and blind, and they created an experience for the average consumer who is not disabled in any way, that helps them replicate that feeling. But what happened was that they created a space that is totally dark, and all the consumers come in and they experience the food, and because their senses are heightened, because when we turn off one sense, other senses become much more sensitive. What ends up happening is that when the food comes out and you smell it, it's a totally different experience. Now we know visually that the visual we spoke about earlier, right? The visual of the food is so important to the way we experience it, but also the smell, also the taste. If you can go and just focus on one thing at a time, right? When you go into a spa, imagine you would be set. Someone would sit you down and you have beautiful music playing in the background, right? And suddenly they bring out the first perfume or something, and you can smell it, you can experience it, or the first lotion, and then they put that lotion on you and you can feel it, and they compare it to a different one. They say, okay, we understand your body type, we understand what you're looking for, the results you're looking for, and this would feel that way and that one would feel this way, and you can really focus on that experience. I think it would be so
like a
powerful.
complimentary, like a room with like a complimentary facial or something like that, giving them what we term in the online world as a freebie, right? Or
added value,
or a tripwire,
right.
Would really, it's giving without a mandatory purchase.
Right.
We're allowing them to understand, allowing them to experience.
And to see your expertise, that you really understand them, right? I think it's really, really huge. And just to finish it up, I think that the reason, understanding that the reason the clients are coming to you and they're not doing it on their own, the reason they're not, there's so much DIY today. You go on Pinterest, right, for those DIYs, or you go on some other locations, online, blogs and etc. And there's so many DIYs, but at the end of the day, the people go to you for the experience. They're not going to you, they might not know you're an expert, and they would certainly be a lot more delighted and they'll trust you more, but they're paying for an experience, right? And if you can deliver that experience to them, and the better you can make that experience, they're going to keep on coming back, and they're going to tell their friends, they're going to Instagram it, they're going to share it with everyone. They're going to say, hey, everyone, check out this experience. They've never had that before.
And the best
right?
business is repeat business.
Exactly.
Yeah, so no, you definitely touched on so many really important things, especially in the beginning when we were talking about art. And, there's so many concepts of retail that you kind of see copied, or I shouldn't say copied, I'll say borrowed like you did, and get borrowed, but kind of interpreted in their own way. Like one of my favorite bosses of all time, he actually is the one that hired me at L'Oreal. And we used to talk about business development quite frequently in our status meetings. And one of the analogies that he used to always talk to me about, and it just always stuck with me, and it always sticks with my doctors too. But it's like, okay, when you go to the grocery store, and let's just say you want to buy yogurt, but everybody was shopping that day, and you've got a favorite yogurt. Let's just say Chobani is your favorite one, and you go and there's one left on the shelf, and then you might have another brand that people didn't pick through that day, but is fully stocked and well organized. Which yogurt are you going to grab?
That's a hard one.
Yeah, probably not the Chobani.
I was going to say I might want that one because everyone else had it.
Or you might think, why did nobody take that one? What's wrong with it?
Right.
Exactly. Right.
So there have actually been studies done in stores and grocery stores that show people will skip over it because they'll just assume that it's unhealthy. That, the last one there is just unhealthy. I don't want it. They're going to go to the well-stocked area. And so certain things that I see scalable or borrowable for retail across the board are the number of products you might have on a shelf. And this goes for hotels too, because hotels sell all kinds of funny stuff. Like they sell towels and robes and shoes and slippers and things that no one really wants, but you give them the freebie of the beautiful cushy robe in the closet in the room, they might like it and buy it and go home, right? It's the same thing. So what we know is the magical rule of retail. Retail sells in 3s, 5s, and 7s. Victoria's Secret and Bath & Body Works mastered that concept. And what happened is that medical aesthetics clinics who actually adopted that rule would jump from, like 100,000 in retail to 2 to 3 to 4. I have clinics doing more than 2 million in retail by sticking to the rules of 3s, 5s, and 7s. And it works in different ways. It works by stocking things in 3. So if you imagine like a beautiful hotel towel, sometimes they sell it rolled up with a pretty ribbon and they stack it up like a triangle. They stack it in 3 because it looks healthy. People grab one and buy it. And the minute somebody takes one, it gets replaced. It's the same in aesthetics. If I have, I don't know, I have a SkinCeuticals product here. I'm never just going to sit one on the shelf. I'm going to use 3 or 4 and make it look nice because that portrays healthy inventory in the mind of a consumer. It's just psychology. It is what it is. And it also works buy 3, get 1 free. It also works buy these 3 different products and you get access to my freebie, which could be a facial. It could be 10 minutes in a hotel spa. It could be whatever you want to give away.
I love it. I love the way
right?
I'm like there's fireworks going off in my mind. Oh, we could do that. We could do that.
So it definitely works. The other borrowable things are definitely, when you say art, my wheels start turning because I actually look at shelves like art. And, when it comes to products, I don't know how this would translate into maybe clothing or things like that, but I do know with physical products such as a face cream, when you've got shelves, you really want to focus like 80% products and 20% props or visual. So that means branded signage or pretty decor or whatever that is. In hotels, it might be a bit different. I'd love to hear your expertise on that. But in our world, it is 80% product, 20% props. But those props are differentiation points. So you can have, especially if you're a plastic surgery clinic, or even if you're a high-end hotel that wants to attract a certain person, you might have a beautiful sculpture of a beautiful woman that evokes a visceral response of sensuality or something that is in the psychology of understanding your consumer. So you have that opportunity to really tap into that. And that is totally borrowable. Go look at a gorgeous hotel. Go look at a beautiful retail store. Google pictures of Harrods. They do it really well. Harrods in London. I know that because I just got sucked right into buying a lot of stuff there a couple weeks ago. But I am a sucker for retail, even though I know it inside and out. But it's done right? So, that opportunity to use those props to create the experience, not only that you want to create, but the experience that your client needs, is such a huge opportunity. And that is where I really wanted to just get you guys to dish, even if you've got like one or two things that you could share about like what design techniques. So if I've got 20% of my space to dedicate to props, like what colors work, or any like pointers I could take away for that, I think would be awesome.
You and everyone, all of our listeners.
Yeah.
I think that first of all,
flow of the space is really, really important.
But in terms of flow of the space is always number one. Yeah, but in terms of props, you're talking accessories and colors. So that would mean artworks or maybe sculptures, and that's, we're talking about visionettes and like things that come in groups of threes, and they all they're at different heights. So it's creating that balance. And design, it's all props. It's all like the entire concept of creating a beautiful hotel space or anything, or a restaurant or spa. The merchandise is the spa. It is the hotel. The merchandise is, having the consumer come back again and again and creating a lifelong relationship with them. But in a space like, an esthetician's office, a doctor's office, and you have a limited amount of space, the traffic flow, like my husband said, is number one. Making sure that it's balanced, making sure that it's not overwhelming and cluttered.
And also something that we do that I think is really, really cool. I don't know if you're familiar with staging, but home staging is one of the most powerful tools to sell a home, and that most realtors, for whatever reason, don't take advantage of. And if you understand the basic, it's really very basic concepts. In home staging, it's neat. It's they empty out a lot of the space, so it's not cluttered. It's not too overwhelming, and they create the center. They create a center to the room, like a focal point, right? So if it's an architectural detail or a fireplace or the large counter space, whatever it might be, they would try to put some more props around the area of the focal points. I'd say in cosmetics, whatever the product that you're selling, I'm sure that's something that you're of. You kind of want the space to lead to that and to kind of have a comfortable area to congregate around it, right? You don't want something that is going to be too hard to reach. It's going to be kind of like off to the side. You need to know how to work the room to kind of like bring you there. So it could be kind of like, creating a sitting area near it, or having making it just very approachable. Also, I think the colors, right? We know with staging, a lot of times I think always they remove the curtains and they bring in a lot of light. So you want to make sure that it's the space
depends on the type of
appealing, right? So I think it also depends on the product though that we're discussing.
Usually there's also a lot of architectural detail, like the wall textures or the ceiling. And again, going back to what you were saying about the lighting is super duper, super important.
Yeah.
Duper. Did I say duper? Super duper.
In our world, we say light and bright, and less is more with the stuff, so that the light has a chance to shine, because it equates to happiness. And that is something that resonates really well with the aesthetics consumer. I'm not sure if it's similar in your world.
Definitely. And that's what part of what really sells a home is when people walk in, they want to see a bright place. They don't want to see a dark
and we're seeing a huge trend of the transitional style, which is a mix between traditional and modern. It's kind of got that balance because it's more neutral colors, it's bright, it's airy. People are going away from taupes. They're going away from the yellows and going more towards the colors that have more of the cool undertones to it. So if you have a white, rather than there being a taupe in the undertone, there's more of a blue undertone with the cool colors that represent, it's kind of like the colors of Greece. You know, the whites are very bright and they're very happy and joyous. Just, you know, right? Just like thinking about it just brings you. What?
I'm there. Didn't take time to be there. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's also for sales. They found, I believe, I read that they found that when sales reps would wear blue ties, they would make more sales. People would buy more because the color blue, you know, those calming, relaxing colors, it put people less on edge. You know, it's more, you know, the bright colors are inviting. You know, it's just really being aware of the psychology of the colors.
And just an observation, just as we're talking about it, it goes back to that idea that we're in an era now of expansiveness, expansive thinking, where people are so super focused on being happy, not just doing what is normal to be done, but following their hearts and going after what makes them happy, what brings them joy. And it's just interesting to me that we're talking about, you know, the displays and what makes somebody happy, and the colors that are trending now are very significant with that trend of, you know, being conscious and searching and trying to be joyful on a higher level.
And I'm wondering also, speaking about, you know, since we mentioned that the colors that are trending now are more calming and relaxing colors, I wonder if it has to do a little bit with the fact that we're constantly getting bombarded now with all this, you know, information and media. Right, exactly. So, you know, maybe what people are looking for now is something that would help them, you know, kind of like relax a little bit, feel more calm, more at ease, because there's always this go mentality. There's always something happening. So kind of, you know, presenting the product in a way that would help them feel that calm that they may be searching might be helpful. But I think it also depends a little bit on the type of product you're selling, because there's definitely room for the edgy products, you know, something.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah. You know, there's definitely room for those ones that are like a little more playful, more fun. And I think, you know, really, like we said earlier, it's really understanding your consumer. You know, we don't want everyone to go and become transitional. We don't want everyone to go.
Boring. That'd be so boring if everybody went the same way. But you're right. It really comes back to the same thing we've been saying, you know, all night together, is just that, you know, everything is about understanding your consumer and helping your consumer, you know, when they're having their experience, if you experiencing themselves at the best version of themselves and helping them get there. And you can achieve it through color, you can achieve it through art, you can achieve it through really good customer service and patient client interactions, and every aspect of your business you can achieve that. And I love what we're sharing here. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Today we're celebrating a very special day, and I want to congratulate you both and wish you a happy Women's Day. Yeah, and
how apropos. We were originally supposed to do this on Valentine's Day.
It's okay, everything for a reason. But
exactly.
So in terms of where to find us, Jasmine and myself, you can find us at aestheticinfluencer.com, or if you want to find us on the gram, we're there every day at Aesthetic Influencer. It's AES. Can I spell my business name? Yes, I can.
I don't think anyone can spell aesthetics.
Right? It is AESTHETIC Influencer. And you can find us there. If you are in the space of medical aesthetics and you're looking for tips and pointers and advice, just reach out to us. We're always here. And if you're looking for a really well-trusted design partner, call Liat and her husband. They are amazing. I'm just so elated that I've met them, and we're happy to be here. So if you want to learn more about our background, you can find everything on our website, and also you can just reach out to us and we'll be there to help.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It was such a pleasure having you, and I think that we're gonna have to have you again soon.
Definitely.
Anytime. It was a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure and great meeting you for the first time. It's been really, really a pleasure, and I love the creative thought and borrowing from different industries.
And the synergy of business and design.
And art.
Oh, yes. It's, you know, I feel like we just barely scratched the surface today. There's so much synergy between business and design, and it is not just reserved for hotels and grocery stores. It is everywhere, whether it's how you design your Instagram or how you design your waiting room or how you design wherever you are, whatever industry you're in. It is so critical, and it doesn't have to be expensive. Okay, like don't hire a $1 million contractor and an architect. Call Leah. There are ways to do it. There are ways to do it.
So
Call
much.
both of us to do it together. Online to offline.
There you go. So yeah, that's it. I would love to be on again.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Hotelier Lounge Podcast, where we make it our business to help you increase your business. Head to thehotelierlounge.com to catch up, unlock our exclusive offers, and access show notes for all of our past episodes. You can also visit our LinkedIn or Facebook group to continue the conversation. If you have any questions, comments, or if you'd like to be featured or become a sponsor, visit thehotelierlounge.com. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Have a powerful rest of your week. See you next time.